Maris, can you hear me?
You're a little faint.
Yeah, we can hear you. Hold on. I need to connect the speaker.
Okay.
Put my feet.
Yes,
back.
we can hear you, Deb. One moment. Hear you. Hold on. I need to connect the speaker. Deb, could you do one more check for me, please?
Talk to them. Oh, hi, Maris.
There you go.
Yeah. Unmute. Okay.
No. 7 o'clock. You're unmuted. All right, we are live. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome. Good evening. This is our July meeting for the Golden Gate Fire Protection District Board. We have myself, Meredith, the chief, and Deb is on the line. I'd like to welcome you all here. Thank you to the community members and the community organizations. We're going to go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right. Gonna go ahead and do roll call. Meredith,
Here.
Ms. Curley,
Deb.
I'm here.
thank you. Mr. Green, absent without excuse. Mr. Primer, absent without an excuse, and myself, Nippy, present. Okay. Are there any additions or deletions from the agenda? Deb, anything?
Yeah. Nope.
Thank you.
I have none.
Thank you. I have no additions or deletions, Chief? None. Okay. Are there any conflicts of interest?
No.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
Thank you, Deb. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move to reports. Oh, sorry. Let's go ahead and move to approval of the minutes. Procedurally, I'm just going to go ahead and move to approve the minutes from last month. Can I have a second or any debate?
I'll second.
And I would note that the one that is posted online is like a second change. The one that the board got had one minor change that needed to be made. I didn't realize that when I dropped the Jeffco Regional hazards wasn't supposed to be in there. And I did take it out in one place, but then it showed up again in the chief's report.
Got this one,
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
correct. But then,
a bit further up.
but in the chief's report,
They're separate.
yeah, okay.
I think they're separate.
Oh, well, anyway, they're separate?
There's two different agreements.
Well, but one's mutual aid and the other is
The
not.
wildland.
The wild-
That's different. I'm talking about the one that we approved last.
That is the all hazards agreement.
Aye. Oh, no.
Change needs to be-
So okay, well, then the change that was was made on the posted version needs to be changed back to the previous version. It should be hazards IGA under the chief's report.
Not the Jeffco Regional Mutual Aid. I thought that was the all hazards.
You see what I'm talking about?
It is all, but actually,
Yeah, it's confusing. I will say that.
that actually works fine. I don't, it is all in all hazards agreement, but it's Jefferson County Emergency Mutually, that works.
Which one works?
Jefferson County, leave it, Jefferson County Emergency Mutual
It
Aid.
says regional.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
that's
Then we'll
Under
leave
the
it the way it
chief's
is.
report Or,
We'll leave it the way it is, under both,
all right,
under both. It's
Okay.
done. Okay, thank you. Sorry,
all right, whenever the.
confusing. Whoops. All right,
I will call for a vote.
aye.
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 It's approving the minutes.
The minutes have been approved. Okay, for the community and for online,
How come you didn't wait for us? We wait for you.
so for the community and for online, we have, Mr. Primer and Mr. Green have arrived. They are late. We have, I will go ahead and ask you to note that they are present
There, present.
as of 7:05 PM.
Yep.
Okay. So we will move to the treasurer's report. And that is me. As I've said before, I don't read the treasurer's report because it's online. So I'll give the highlights. We have noted items, which are $2,000 for artisan custom hardwood floors. I believe that's part of the 81
Budget. Yes,
81 budget. And then we are at 143,000 total expenditures to date, budget versus actuals, which is online. Or on par with what we're budgeting for. We have collected $37,000, 35 from the treasurer and from the Jefferson County treasurer and 2,000 from our bank account. So that's interest. We also our financial position, we continue to build our base scope inside of our bank account. So we have reserves of $475,000. So that continues to grow our capital base. Our bookkeeper, Mr. Creech, is out of town. So some of these are estimates on where we were based on last month. That concludes the treasurer's report. I would now move on to the chief's report.
Okay.
Can I interrupt for a second?
No,
Why not? I
Uh,
have something to say.
we're going
How
to,
did you get so far?
Chief's
down so
report.
Quickly, and I think we were only 2 minutes. or
chief's
late.
report.
All right.
How
So
did you get so far down?
We started exactly at 7 o'clock.
Well, I just want. Austin is late. We wait for him.
Chief's report. Thank
We
you.
often wait. for
Mr.
him.
Green, you're out of order.
No, you're out of
If
order.
you would-
We wait for you all the
Mr.
time.
an obvious question.
Mr. Green.
How did you get so far down?
We
Like,
started our meeting,
The agenda.
excuse me, we started our meeting on time.
I think you started early.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't. Well.
Mr. Green, if you continue to
What
disrupt,
are you gonna do, censor me?
no, I'll call the sheriff
Call
for
this shit.
for disorderly
Call the sheriff.
conduct. The chief's report, thank you.
I think we need. to get
Mr.
these
Green.
conversations. I haven't additions.
Mr. Green,
I have additions.
please, Mr. Green, you're out of order. The chief's
Nippo, I
report,
have-
chief's report, please.
Do we get to put the additions?
Mr. Green,
Do I get to put the additions? Polisher.
Mr. Green, please allow the meeting to proceed.
Can I put some?
Mr.
additions
Green,
in?
we are on,
Do we get the additions?
It's an obvious question, can you answer it, yes or no? It's real simple.
the meeting will proceed with the chief's report.
How did you get 4 categories, 6 categories down in such few minutes?
That is a moot
Six.
question. It's very quick to go
7,
through
8,
the Pledge of
9,
Allegiance. I would suggest that in order to proceed rationally, that we allow additions to the agenda and then proceed with the chief's report. I would make a motion that we do that.
I don't know, I don't think that needs a motion. I agree.
Okay,
Additional additions or deletions from the agenda.
Yes, I would like to suggest that a firefighter should not be doing our books. There's not enough separation between a firefighter. to
What
be our
is the
bookkeeper.
title of your item for new business, sir?
Firefighters shouldn't be doing books or be our bookkeeper.
Okay.
That would be Mr.
where would you like to place this?
Anywhere you want.
Put it at 5.3.
5.3. Volunteers should not, firefighters, excuse me, VFS should not do books.
Are there any other additions or deletions from the agenda?
I don't want that.
Mr. Fuller?
Nope, that's all.
You're not gonna
We'll-
discuss 83 drainage?
Could you repeat the item, Meredith, please?
The item would be to add a discussion of firefighters should not be doing bookkeeping.
And that will be under section 5.3. Mr. Green, you've asked do you have an addition or deletion from the agenda?
What happened to the drainage?
The drainage report is not finished, so it will be postponed to August.
Since I'm not included in these conversations, I don't know that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Who's doing that report?
Contractor is called Insight Engineering.
Insight Engineering?
I believe it's yes, Insight Engineering.
Is there any paperwork that should accompany that
No,
I haven't been privy to?
no paperwork. When we
Nobody
have,
else has got any?
when we have a report, we'll provide it.
No,
Well, we have an executive committee and now excludes 2 board members. So I don't know what goes on behind the scenes.
Are there any other additions or deletions from the agenda? Moving on to the chief's report.
Okay. We'll keep this brief and summarize. It is posted. The big thing is that the wildland fire agreement that we've been talking about for the majority of the year has finally been gone through all its legal backgrounds and was presented to the board earlier this month. And it's also posted online for adoption by the fire department, and so we can sign it and send it back to the Jefferson County. There were several large wildland fire events in Jefferson County last month. We're actively participating with all the rest of the county for mutual aid. There's a new call coordination group that is through Jefferson County that allows us to kind of realize or be able to see in real time what's available and who has trucks available, especially since the majority of the agencies in the mountains are volunteer. It's really helpful for us to get real time information to the incident commander as far as who can provide what and how far away they are. So that's really working well, and we have been utilizing that for pretty actively for the last month. Lutheran Hospital still on track to open its new location next week. We're looking forward to that very much. It just as a region. And then for the public, there's a newer, I don't know exactly when it was released, smartphone application that's provided by a free and nonprofit organization called Firewatch. It was proven to be really helpful during the several large wildland fires, including the one in Boulder. It is essentially a public free resource that takes the most up-to-date information about a wildland fire through whatever channels that they're getting that information through dispatch or through or reporters on the ground, and is pushing it out to people who are within that geographic location, within whatever boundary you set on the app. It's just a really good resource that's free online And I definitely think that if you're interested in keeping up to date or interested in learning more about wildland fires, even if they're not right here in Golden Gate, it's a really good resource for it.
Do we have a link that we can add to the minutes?
I can provide a link to at the minute. They do have a website.
Question.
Mhm.
Is this Firewatch? Can the public feed back into it?
No.
Like, can you say, I see a fire from my house, you know?
No, because we want that to route through 911.
Okay,
So this is a third-party nonprofit that's basically allowing for greater community situational awareness during a wildland fire.
so they're pulling in reports from all different
Correct.
agencies.
And it seems
and- okay.
from what I can tell, or from what we can tell from, the agency perspective, is that they're taking a bunch of information from different outlets and then collating it and then redistributing it, kind of in alert form to people who are in the geographic location, of that wildland fire. But also you can go into the application and let's say you want to look at a fire in California, you can click on the fire and see all the different notes and information about that specific fire. So in real case scenario, there was a significant wildland or a wildland event that occurred in Golden. I believe it was on Monday. And they were very quick to get that posted onto Firewatch. It was almost link in step with dispatch. So it was, if you were on the app, you would have gotten a notification of that incident pretty much right away. It was very cool. And even when command was terminated, when they said that the fire had been stopped, they sent out another notification saying that the fire had been stopped. It's definitely, from what I've seen, it's been pretty impressive. And I think it's the first of its kind for public situational awareness.
So obviously we'll vote on it within minutes next month, but I think it'd be great to have a link to that program for the public.
Yeah, I think that's why.
And then Operation as the Chief, if you needed to post a link to that on the website itself.
Okay. Yeah, we can, do we need a vote to have Drew post it
No,
in the minutes?
that's an operational.
Okay.
We'll vote for it to be in the official minutes separately next month.
Perfect. ESO implementation, we're live with the officers. We're currently running both ESO and emergency reporting. It's not costing the district anything to run both as we transition. So essentially what that looks like is that ESO is fully functional. It's getting all the information from CAD. Our officers are able to go in and look at ESO as we see the calls populate in with emergency reporting in ESO and see the differences between the two. Once all the officers are trained, then we step down to our firefighters and we'll get all of our firefighters trained on ESO. Most of the reporting that we do is on the officer level or by a senior firefighter. So we kind of stick with keeping the reporting level or the reporting people who have access to report in ESO on that higher level. But we're definitely fully in the transition and we are fully implemented on both sides. We just haven't done our full transition with our firefighters. So all the data is the same on both sides. The TAC integration project that we've talked about in previous meetings, we hit a roadblock this month. After our previous meeting, we went back and have done some more due diligence in looking at hardware. After we talked to FirstNet and our rep from FirstNet, they came back with a quote for Windows hardware, which is compatible across all of our software. So emergency or ESO, TAC, and what's called TriTech CAD integration. And we have to run a Windows tablet to be able to have all of those directly implemented on the tablet. And the cost that they came back with was, in my opinion, untenable. It went from being, originally we were thinking it was going to be fully comped using an Android tablet to being almost $15,000. And so we're looking at alternative options for that. There is a potential workaround that Chief Enright's working on with Jeffcom, where we would use an app that would be available to use on the lower cost tablets. So in general, just being a good steward of our budget, we want to make sure that we are, if we move forward with this integration, which we still think we should, that we are 100% capable across all of our software systems on one platform. We're also being financially responsible with the budget. And we're not going to be buying $15,000 of tablets at one time.
So can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I am, you don't need to answer it now, and maybe this can be for another meeting, but what are other districts doing that are doing an integration with TAC? Are they using Android? Are they using Windows?
A lot of them are using Windows. a lot of districts use what's called a GTAC or a hardened toughbook that does run Windows natively, whether it be a laptop version or a tablet version. They are exceptionally expensive. So we're looking at different alternatives for that. And they're also designed to really be full-time mounted inside of a fire engine. So
Okay.
it's a little bit of a different use case.
And maybe again, for a different meeting or for after further investigation, but why is FirstNet even bothering to suggest that we use an Android system if it doesn't work?
So they didn't, when they first provided us that quote, they didn't understand that we had these other softwares that needed to be Windows capable.
Okay.
And we actually didn't know that we had to have Windows specifically until we went again and went back to dispatch and talked to them about TriTech. And that we learned that the TriTech interface requires Windows unless we use this app, which is, like I said, it's a little bit of a workaround.
Okay.
There are other agencies within Jefferson County that are also looking at using this application. But as to my knowledge, as of right now, there are no agencies that use the TriTech app. They have the direct TriTech integration with Windows.
Okay. Does
And
Microsoft offer anything for free? Is that a thing? Can
we can look into that. That's actually not a bad idea to look into Microsoft and seeing if there's, some kind of grant available or something like that.
Okay.
So that's Chief Enright's very heavily working on that project to move forward. As an aside, on this TAC, Golden Gate has been working really heavily with the state TAC team. We've been providing them locations for them to do their training video filming. They have been up here multiple times with us, with our firefighters. Our firefighters are really integrated into helping launch TAC with the state and with Jefferson County. Jefferson County brought the TAC program to our Jefferson County communications meeting, which was earlier this month, to kind of outlay it to the rest of the fire chiefs. And it was nice to be able to have some knowledge about it from us working with the state here as Golden Gate when we went to that meeting. So in general, that's a lot of Chief Enright working with the state and Chief Brill. And we are really pleased with that. And we're really happy that the state's really kind of taken Golden Gate and allowing us to be kind of that test case. And like I said, our firefighters are the ones that are featured in the training videos that will go out to the whole state. So it's very cool. Okay, grant updates. So BLM Community Fire Assistance Grant, we applied for that back in April. Federal grants take forever to come back. We're still awaiting results. I was hoping that we were going to hear back from it in July. I checked yesterday again, and our status is still awaiting results. So it's still, we have an assigned tracking number, but there's no progression through the grant system on the federal grant tracking. So we're still being under review. So that may take, all the way up to 6 to 8 months for that to come back, unfortunately. The SIPA grant is $5,500, which we talked about, for the website update and ADA compliance. I talked to SIPA earlier last week just to see where we are on that. They're thinking that we'll have results from that in the last week of August or the first week of September. So we may or may not have that result for the next board meeting. Firehouse subs, this is a new grant that was applied for. The value of this grant was $38,000. And it's for a new set of burst battery extrication tools. So our extrication tools that we currently use have a hydraulic power plant that is run by gas, and everything is tethered to it. It is rather cumbersome, and it definitely gets the job done. We definitely get the job done with it. However, there are newer and better options for extrication. Battery extrication tools are kind of the way that extrication is done now. We have one battery extrication tool. It's a combi tool that does say here central in the district. However, we'd like to look at getting full sets of extrication tools on both sides of the district. This would be the first full set. And we applied for that Firehouse subs grant to get that full set. We demoed a bunch of different extrication tool types to make sure we were doing our due diligence as far as what we wanted to move forward with, what are the costs of different tools, what we could afford with the grant caps. And we've gone forward with Hearst, which is also what we already have. here at Station 83. It is also tangentially the same tool that our neighbors use, so that there's interchangeability between departments. We also submitted for another very large grant, which is DFPC direct distribution, which we received last year. That's how we replaced a significant portion of our bunker gear last year, was the direct distribution grant. We've submitted for 20 full replacements of SCBAs. So this is one SCBA, 2 bottles, and 1 face piece, and it per unit, and we've submitted for 20 units, which is the maximum. The value of that is, I confirmed that this morning with Chief Brill, per unit is $7,776 per unit. So it's, I think it's just shy of $150,000 in value.
Can I ask I thought we just got new SCBAs. Is that
So
a different
those-
type of gear?
No, good question. So the SCBAs that we received were older SCBAs that were from Genesee. We received 4 of them.
Okay.
They're the same generation and year as the SCBAs we currently have.
Okay.
We were short SCBAs, so not only were our SCBAs expiring, but we were also short. So we actually were able to bring our fleet up to appropriate amount with backstock and training packs
Okay.
when we did that. But they're also about to expire. So we can't have our current SCBAs flow tested. There's a lot of things what we can't do with our current SCBAs and our current bottles. The other thing that's really important about this grant that would be really awesome for the district is that our current SCBAs they're not quite 1-for-1 bottle to pack, but we're pretty close. But because this is providing 2 bottles per pack, we will actually have a backstock of bottles that we can cycle through on an event that we're wearing the SCBA.
Chief, what's our operational risk? If you just said that our current stock of SCBAs is about to expire and we're applying for a grant, how soon do those expire and what's the cost? Because we don't operate hoping for grants. We need to operate.
Correct. So the truth is that we can go to the end of the year. We'll be okay with them until the end of the year. The operational risk with them being expired is that we're out of NFPA compliance with them being expired. We can still have them we can have them fit tested, the masks fit tested.
Is that safe for our
compliance.
firefighters?
I would say,
no.
no, I do not think
Okay.
it's safe for our firefighters. And I'll be completely honest, for cost, that the $7,776, that's the state's cost. For us to go out and buy them individually, we'd be looking at an additional $1,500 per unit. So probably an additional $30,000 on top of that.
Okay, so we need to understand that. And if you're saying they're going to expire at the end of this calendar year, we need to get that into our budget for the next calendar
And
year.
we should hope, my hope is that we will have the results from direct distribution prior to budget.
Okay.
So my understanding is that we should probably know about direct distribution by the first week of September. I'm again hoping that there's a possibility that we may know by that next board meeting, but regardless, we will know before next budget time.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm just like a hope is not a plan person.
Correct,
Right?
yeah.
So like we need to plan for it. And if we get a grant, great,
Yeah.
but
Have these things been pressure tested lately?
We can't actually, they're beyond the age where we can have them flow tested. Our bottles cannot be flow tested or hydrostated.
And what's that date that's on those bottles? Because I was gonna ask this question. Yeah, you're talking SCBAs.
Our SCBAs. Yeah, so
Two
there's,
components or 3. You got the mask, you got a regulator
so the mask, regulator,
and
bottle, and then the pack itself. Yeah.
The most dangerous part would be the mask and the valve.
Correct.
Not the mask, the bottle and the valve area.
Right,
Is
so
there a date on those bottles?
So I'd have to look at the exact date on the bottles. I believe they all expire. It's either at the end of this year or it's in the spring of next
Can
year.
you get me a date on those bottles?
We can look at the date on the bottles.
How many bottles are there? 30?
No, I think we're currently at 28 bottles with the
Pretty
back
close.
so pretty close, just a little short of 30.
yeah, I think it would
Can you give me
be,
the oldest bottle and the newest bottle? You don't have to give me every date. I'm curious what the bottles are like.
Yeah, we can take a look.
I think it would be a good idea to have hey, these are the components and these are their expiry dates. No matter what, we're gonna do a batch replacement, but
Yeah.
we need to understand, hey, one of the, and I don't know, can you replace individual components or does it have to be, like, can we say, oh, all our bottles are expiring, we're gonna do the bottles, then we do the masks, then we do the valves?
So I've actually never heard of a department doing that, and I actually can't give you an answer if we can or can't do that.
Look, you
Yeah.
you tell us what the right thing to do
Yeah,
is.
the right option is to replace them all. So Steve, to answer your question, I personally think that the most important part is our masks. Making sure that our masks have a proper seal. Our firefighters all go through a full mask fit test.
I'm not going dangerous, but I agree, and mask
Yeah.
fit is important, of course.
If the mask doesn't fit, the system's worthless. It doesn't do anything.
Correct. So we have to make sure, so
500 PSI. Dangerous.
but when we talk about the mask, the seal around the edge of the mask and with the weight, like being like kind of the most highest wear part, that's where we start to see things start to really fail. Things crack, masks or the mask itself, they go through what's called crazing, where the actual plat or the shielding over the clear part of the mask will start to form micro cracks. And that's where we need to take them out of service. And we're at the age of those masks where we're starting to see that.
So I think you want to see the age of the components and then we come up with some sort of an estimate for what it would take to replace them. Does that sound right?
I looked into the dates.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Sound
can
good?
do that. Yeah, we can get to your next board meeting.
Okay.
All right, operations, July picked up significantly call volume. We had 55 incidents to date. Not going to bore you guys with all of this. We did have two simultaneous calls during the really large lightning event that happened on Robinson Hill and Guy Hill. One of them did start a fire. The fire was put out prior to our arrival while we were responding by the homeowner. When we arrived, we performed overhaul, made sure that the tree was all the way out and all the area was out. 2 days before that, we also had a car fire on Golden Gate Canyon Road, and it was stopped. Initially, the first arriving police officer or sheriff's officer put a dry chem extinguisher on it. And then we came back and made sure everything was fully out. But it was the dry chem extinguisher did a really good job stopping that car fire. So just again, a public note, if you're carrying an extinguisher, as long as it's properly secured in your car, can make a really big difference. So the good stops on that one. They both had the significant, or were both in areas that if we did not get a good stop, they would have had significant wildland fire risk. So we were lucky on both of those, and I'm really glad for both the homeowner training and being diligent for that, and also for the sheriff's office and our own folks that responded. We had a lot of folks respond to both of them.
Quick question, and we can take it offline later. Is there such a thing as putting a sign at the bottom of the canyon that says X number of motorcycle accidents on this canyon this year?
No.
I'm serious. Okay.
It's possible. I personally responded to 2 motorcycle accidents within 5 hours of each other on Monday. So we definitely have had quite a few of them. I think in the last week we've had 4 or more even. So there's been quite a few motorcycle accidents. I'm not sure what has caused such a large, other than just higher traffic. We've seem to have quite a lot of them kind of concentrated around each other. Whether that be road conditions, just more motorcycle traffic because of the weather. We definitely have seen quite a lot of them. Most of them have been relatively minor injuries, which we're thankful for. But there have been quite a few of them.
I don't know if that's a Jefferson County question about putting up a sign. But
I would imagine that's a road and bridge question.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I saw one right around the corner here, and then I saw motorcyclists passing you guys and the sheriff as there was a motorcycle accident. And
Yes.
you guys, and I was just flabbergasted.
Yes.
So,
We've also gone, as we talked about earlier, with the Jefferson County system, we've gone on standby for 2 expanding incidents within Jefferson County. We were not deployed to those, but we are proving the system in that we are able to get notification from Jeffco and then put it out to our firefighters and then have them respond to our stations and have a plan for how many people we have available within the district, what we can safely send to help for mutual aid, and what we need to reserve in the district in order to make sure that we're protecting our district as well. So that system is really working like beautifully. And we're really happy with that and with the response from our firefighters as well. Currently 23 operational members, 4 support services. That's not changed. The Firefighter One Academy is on track. We have planned to wrap up and do our final practical within 30 days of yesterday. I believe Chief Brill submitted this morning for the final practical. We did go through our mock practical last night. That's why we were training until 11:30. If anyone lives close to station 82, my apologies for the late night saw noise. They had to practice, or they had to prove competence in their vertical ventilation skills with the chainsaw. So that's moving along very well. We kind of, again, very quickly got notification of a really good training opportunity with Golden Fire, which is a driver operator pumper academy. We currently have 3 firefighters that are going through that. It's a week-long, like a 9 to 5 week-long academy at Golden Fire. And like we had 3 people that had a week's notice and they were able to jump on it and dedicate their entire week to being down there. I got photos from it today. I visited with them on Monday. They're doing a great job, and this academy opportunity is really going to increase in their knowledge of pumping and operating a vehicle, and we really hope that they can bring that back up there and disseminate it. I also am hoping that this is going to become a regional annual thing where we can continue to send firefighters down to this academy. Historically, driver operator pumper certifications, aerial certifications, utility certifications were a self-study or an AHJ training, so authority having jurisdiction training. So to be able to have an official academy where someone can go down and set aside a block of time and focus on driving and pumping is really significant, and we're really happy about it so far. Firefighter Chris Creech, probationary firefighter Chris Creech, has passed his hands-on skills evaluation for his National Registry EMT certification, and he is sitting for his written test sometime during August. Congratulations to him. Station update projects. Station 81, the renovation's functionally complete. We had a few small finishes, just like at the end of any renovation, that became more complicated than we expected. For example, we hung the doors on the interior and we realized that they didn't fit just exactly within the jamb, even though we measured it. So we have to pull the doors off and shave a little bit off and then remortise the hinges and all the fun things that come with that, right? So a bunch of really small little things that are left like that we're trying to wrap up before we have our opening party that we're hoping to have by now. We just want to make sure that all of those little things are completed before we present it to the community. The last thing I want to do is say, hey, look at the new firehouse that doesn't have a door to the bathroom that fits correctly. So we want to make sure that that's all there. However, the station is functionally complete. The office, the training area, everything for quarters. The kitchen is functional minus the plumbing in the sink. That's one more thing that we've had some tinkering issues with. But we are really charged ahead and so close to the end of that project. Thank you all for your patience, as that's taken so much longer than we anticipated. However, it's really worth it. It is spectacular on the inside. And as also you have mentioned, if you've driven past it, it now looks like a firehouse on the outside. And we have all of the exterior doors were painted red. And to match that, actually, Station 2 also got a facelift over this last month. We have a really awesome team of volunteer painting folks who went to Station 82 and painted those doors red. So now all of the station's facades match each other. So we all have we have tan buildings with red doors. It really, in my opinion, oozes with Golden Gate Fire pride. And as you pass by the fire station, you know it's a fire station. It says Golden Gate Fire on it. It has our logo, and our firefighters are loving it. And I think that every time they pull up, people say something like, wow, like this is really cool. We love it. And so I'm really, really happy with that. And thank you so much to that crew, because they put in, I can't even tell you how many hours that they have or days that they put in, but thank you to those guys. They wish to not be named, but they have really been incredible volunteer folks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To those who have not been named.
And then Station 83 drainage issues, like we said, we're still waiting for the engineer report to come back. He did come and do a site visit. And then he's looking at potential resolutions. He's drafting that, and he will submit the stamped full report to the board for the August meeting. I'm meeting with him on Monday afternoon. And so as soon as I get the engineer report from him, that's certified, stamped, everything that needs to be done, then we'll distribute.
What's the name of the engineer?
It's Insight Engineering.
That I got, you said with him though.
His name is Drew Schneider.
We should be able to, make sure that people know who the engineer is.
Yeah.
It's also important to understand that there is an executive committee and the engineer
Correct.
should not be responding to an site executive committee until we've distributed to the entire board.
Correct. All right, that's all I have. Any questions from the board?
Yes. I know that the budget has been doubled from 230 to 460,000 this year. And I know that you're getting a fairly handsome salary, about 4 times more than our past chief. And I was curious, do you think you're responding to most of the calls?
Am I responding to most of the calls? Is somebody responding to most of the calls?
My neighbor had an accident, broke his leg, and the fire department never showed up.
So I have heard rumors of this call. After
The bad word too.
So after hearing about this, I've done some due diligence and looking at our call log and volume
On June 8th,
on June 8th. I will look in again further at that.
11 a.m.
The,
Colorado State Patrol showed up, Stadium showed up, but the GGFPD never showed up.
I will look into again further at this. Because this is coming again secondhand to me, if your neighbor has a direct concern, I would love to hear from them. Just so I can hear a little bit more about what's happened, because like I said, we've heard about it. We've done some due diligence. Initially, we didn't know exactly what day or what it has come. I've talked to all the
Did
firefighters.
you get it reported what day and the time?
You said it's July or June 8th.
June 8th, 11 a.m.
I will look into that. Thank you for,
Tell him.
I will look into that, because again, when we talked to all of our due diligence pointed to the fact that we didn't receive that call. So I will look into it.
CSP showed up, so did Stadium,
Okay.
and they were waiting for the GGFPD. And they commented to me and they never showed.
June 8th. You said 11 a.m. Steve?
11 a.m.
Jeff Com should have,
Yeah, and we should also have it, and I'll talk to Jeff Com as well.
and there's 2 concerns there. Is one, if Jeff Com got alerted and you're saying these 3 other agencies responded, first is why didn't we respond? And if we didn't get the alert, why didn't we get it?
Correct. So, and I'm going to preface this. We are still a volunteer fire department. Unless we have full-time career staffing, there are going to be times where there are no responders within Golden Gate that have the ability to respond, whether they're at work, whether they are, on vacation. We do our best to make sure that we are staffed. All the reporting, all the data that we provide to the community shows that on average, we have more than 4 firefighters per call, which is great. However, there are going to be those times that we just don't have somebody with it.
I think that's completely fair, and we all need to understand that we're all volunteer. You might have it in front of you, but I know you had it as part of your annual report, was the increase in response that we have from our district compared to prior to the tenure. But I think we've really stepped up the number of firefighters per call and the total number of calls that we're able to respond to. And also chief in district time has come up a lot.
So
It doesn't cover what I'm talking about.
this,
Said we really stepped it up. I don't agree.
so Steve, I also, if your neighbor has a direct concern, I would love to speak.
I doubt the phone. He doesn't.
Sounds good.
Has that concluded your
Yes, sir.
support? Okay, so now we're going to move on to community organization reports. I'll go ahead and start with auxiliary.
We don't really have anything other than the pig roast. We're ramping up for that. We have a meeting first. Oh, yes. August 1st here at 5, to start getting ready for the pig roast, get people lined up for serving, setting. There's a lot to do, so.
Thank you, Ms. Ransom. The Grange.
Rummage sale This is our biggest fundraiser of the year. The sale is actually on August 1st or 2nd and 3rd. We are starting to collect donations on Sunday. Yeah, so,
please.
yeah, not before. Other than that, everything else is going great.
So we're gonna move on to old business. We have review and approval of Jessica Wyland Fire Management IGA. We had reading of it at the last meeting. This just needs signature at this point. Correct, Chief? Okay.
And it does, so the agreement also, so it does need to be signed by the fire district, so the representative from the board and myself, and then the Jefferson County Sheriff.
I would correct that. I think that it was not ready at the
No.
meeting last time,
Separate.
but it
IGs.
was separately sent to the board for review right after that meeting, I think. It was pretty close.
It's not a
Yes, it was-
resolution.
It was
Go ahead,
sent out
Ben.
on July 7th to the board.
Right.
So it's not a resolution, so it's not necessary that we actually had full reading of it, but it's been distributed. So I would move that we approve the IGA. I'll go ahead and sign it and the chief if we approve the IGA. Can I have a second for approving it?
I will second that.
Is there any discussion?
Pretty long,
It is
It's
long.
long.
it's pretty involved. It's not easy to understand. Don't know what options you have to change anything in there,
Not much.
but nonetheless, it's not something you sit down and even in a week, you really understand it all.
I was really surprised to learn that there is a Colorado state law that the Board of County Commissioners has the right to set mill levies or to add to property taxes to fund fire efforts in the county. I did not know that they had that right without a vote of the public, but that's what it says.
That's been there. No
I-
comment.
I just didn't
And
know.
also,
So,
we can accordingly like lower on the levy as well, but that's not
And
necessarily.
it's also not, let's make that clear, that's not for our fire.
That's not for our fire district. That's
it's
the county.
quoted at the very beginning of the IGA. It lists all the legislative rules already passed by the Colorado legislature that apply to wildland firefighting, and that the sheriff has the operational command and just, makes a lot of decisions unless he passes it off. But before you get to that, it says the board, or somewhere in there, it says the Board of County Commissioners has the ability to approve tax funding for wildland fire.
Is that on an emergency basis, permanent basis,
It
temporary?
doesn't
basis?
say.
Don't you think
Read-
don't you think that's in the case of a really devastating wildfire that they would need that authority because we
Well, maybe
need,
so.
I wouldn't speculate as to what it comes through, but in order to have legislation like that, it had to have been voted on by the people. The community had to pass something like that in the county. But I wouldn't speculate as to when or why they would do it, but they do have the authority. And if something were like that were to happen, I think our board can make a decision to lower our mill levy temporarily to offset whatever extra costs were coming, as long as it didn't hurt our fire district. I do think that we are straying a little bit from just approving this IGA
Well,
because
I agree.
irrespective of approving the IGA, that legislation exists. So, I did have a second. Is there any further discussion? Yes. It's not public comment, but go ahead.
Question, yes, to that. Did I understand that that was presented to the board like the 7th of July,
Yes, ma'am.
and it's the 27th of July?
Yes, ma'am.
And we've got questions as to not having time to go through that in 3 weeks.
There was a comment from Director Green that he did not feel as if he personally was able to digest that information within 20 days. I do not believe that that is representative of the entire board's ability to read, comprehend, digest, and make a decision. With that being said, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 The motion carries. There are 3 ayes and 2 nays. The next item that we have on the agenda, and I'll sign that for you right afterwards. The next item that we have on the agenda is an update on grant progress. I know.
I just want a signature.
So I know, the chief is giving an update on several of the items that we had already. There are 2 grants that I've been working on with the chief. Well, one that I've actually worked on is hazard mitigation grant from FEMA. That's for generators and battery backup across all of our stations. The FEMA representative for the state has reached out to us. I need to get time with, Chief Benson and really move that forward. And then the public buildings electrification grant just opened last week. So I'll dig into that. I've had some partners that have applied and been approved for that grant in the last session. So I'll work with them to make sure that we get that as soon as possible. Chief, did you have anything additional?
No, none of that.
One moment, please. To new business, we have employee, staff, board communications. That was you, Mr. Primer.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask the chief a question, and I called him and I haven't received any call back or nothing from him.
So I'm going to go ahead and say, we have an executive committee that is in charge of making sure that we have an appropriate communications policy and that we have a single line of communication that's in line with our bylaws, that no single board.
Citizens of the community can't call the chief and ask a question.
So no single board member has the right to direct anything about our fire district. We have to have a consensus and a vote on the board in order for someone to direct, question, ask, or
We don't know what's going on.
anything
You
with
didn't know
the
from us.
board. So
Wasn't
that,
directing him to do anything. I just
So-
wanted to ask a question
so-
that he could answer, but not you.
so we have an executive committee. We passed a resolution accordingly that says that any communication with the chief needs to go
That's
through
a
the
scam,
executive
the
committee
executive
unless
committee.
it's outside of the,
So
if it's outside of the board meetings.
I'm extricated from talking to the chief totally.
The bylaws have always stated that no individual board member is allowed to communicate, direct, or ask questions of chief
That's an
or staff.
exaggeration.
Yep.
Okay, so, are any
This
other,
is a scam by you.
so moving on, we are on to new business section 5.2, which is volunteer firefighter pension fund contact.
Chief hasn't called me back in months.
So this is an item that was assigned to Mr. Primer. However, it was actually my item that I wanted to add to the meeting. We've been contacted several times by the Volunteer Fire Pension Board about adding a contact for that process. I've communicated several times to Mr. Primer, to Director Primer, that we need him to be the contact because he's the president of the Volunteer Firefighter Pension Board, and he needs to be the contact. I have not received any response from him other than this is funded fully by our district and therefore we don't need any. This is, so I've been told that we don't need to participate at all because it's a fully funded by the fire district. My concern is that we are not at all being represented by the pension board at the state level, that there are also, Mr. Green, please, that there are also grants that are available that could be helping to directly support our volunteer firefighter pension program, which would directly help Mr. Primer and Mr. Verschure, who's also on the pension from our department. And I have received no communication, nothing from Mr. Primer insofar as being the contact for that program. And that's a large concern to me that we're not taking care of our fiduciary duty to our firefighters. And I believe that the president of that pension board should be
I believe that
responsible for
is
that.
you neglecting
This is
your
a,
If I can answer your question,
Yeah.
if you just be quiet for 5 seconds.
I have 10 minutes to speak, sir.
Oh, well, good.
Each
Keep
of us
right
as
on.
directors has 10 minutes to speak. And if you would
Nobody
like
else
to
does
respond to
except
me
for you.
now,
Keep going with the.
please stop. Each of us has an opportunity to speak equally.
Keep
And I've
repeating.
been emailing you for months. And so now you want to interrupt me and speak. Please go ahead and respond.
There's 3 people listed for the FPPA. That's me, Steve Green, and Garrett Brasher as contacts. The person you're talking about is the state matching funds. They contacted you and I got contact with them, and we don't qualify for the state matching funds. Because we don't have any more volunteers going to the program. So our program is still self-funded from the FPPA because they handle all the funds.
I can understand and appreciate that. As
If
the
I
pre-
sent you the message that, if you didn't get it, you just.
I
put it in limbo.
Sir, I received.
And I'm still talking, you're interrupting me now. So if you don't get your messages from me, I guess it's because they're going someplace else. So you just push these buttons and who knows where all that stuff goes.
Plus, you've created an atmosphere of hostility with your executive committee. And we shouldn't expect any cooperation from the board members you've excluded.
And the other thing is that next month, we have a contract to sign with the FPPA.
Sir, I received your email and I continue to say there needs to be a contact for the state, whether or not we have matching funds or we're eligible, there needs to be a contact. And in my opinion, that should be the president of the pension board. And you have refused to allow that to happen. If there's,
I contacted the state and they said there's nothing needed. They don't need a contact because we're not qualified for the matching funds.
Okay,
okay,
And
then we'll
don't
let,
even need a contact. If our name is still in there, if we need to go back to that fund, we can still go back to that fund and bring it back alive. But at this point in time, we can't do that because we don't qualify. It'd be stealing if you applied for it.
okay. My only, and I know that I'm now beyond my opportunity to speak. If that's
You're
okay.
speaking twice.
I have 2 opportunities to speak. I'm asking for leave if I can just continue the conversation from the board unanimous consent.
if it's going to be something different,
Yeah, the only thing I'm asking is I don't understand why they would keep reaching out to us for a contact if we don't need one. And that's why I was like, hey, we need someone who should be in charge of that.
have they kept reaching out?
Yes, they have. They've
Oh.
reached out to me multiple times,
Oh,
even
interesting.
after you sent that email. So if you did contact them and they said you don't need to be on this, they still contacted me again.
Well, then talk to them, be contact.
Moving on to item 5.3, firefighters should not be doing books. That's Mr. Green.
Right, Chris Creech is way too close. It's a conflict of interest for him to be doing our books.
Excuse me. Person-
No, it's not your time to talk. So I don't believe it's correct to have him doing his books. He's demonstrated before extreme bias in certain directions.
Mr.
And,
Green, are you talking about a specific volunteer
I think we
firefighter?
should hire a bookkeeper. I don't think Chris Creech should be a bookkeeper.
Okay, so point of order, we are talking about a specific member of our volunteer firefighter team, and that is a personnel issue. And according to Title 32 of SDA, that is a personnel matter which we should be taken care of in executive
No.
session. Moving on.
This is public funds. You just don't.
We're now going to move on to public comments.
May I address directly the concern that was raised earlier today? in this meeting?
Jimbo, I haven't finished.
Okay, so I would like to address Director Green's concern about a call that occurred on 6/8/24. Originally called into Jefferson County Dispatch at 10:48 and 45 seconds in the morning, at which time Golden Gate Fire was toned at. One moment, I've got to sort through here. 10:49 and 56 seconds. Lieutenant 81 was en route to the call by 10:51 and 34 seconds to station 81. Station or engine 81 was en route with 4 firefighters within 10 minutes of the call, so 10:59. So that's people going from their homes to the station en route 10:59 and 13 seconds. At approximately 11:02, family members are on scene and the patient wants to self-transport. Medic 21 returns to
Say that
service
again,
at
they
11.
were on scene?
Family members are on scene and the patient wants to self-transport. Family members on scene. 11:04, 21 seconds, medic 21 returns to service. At 11:06, fire checks with dispatch to see if they are needed. And dispatch is told or tells, or that their patient has already been transported by a vehicle and that they can go in service. Brush 81 with 4 firefighters goes en route or goes clear available at 11:06 and 56 seconds.
So you're saying then, what are you saying?
We did respond with 4 firefighters and we were stood down
I'll
because
tell my neighbor that you responded. He says you didn't.
there is direct notes from Jefferson County and a report saying that we did.
Moving on to
Wait,
public,
he said you didn't.
moving on to public comment.
If he,
Sir, moving on to,
It's okay.
he's answered the question. There's no other discussion.
But I'm gonna tell my neighbor.
You settle down.
Can you send him that report so we, like, that's a publicly available report.
This
There's-
is not a public.
It's not publicly available. Is it possible? If it's not publicly available, he can't do that. Is it possible for him to core that, or is there, who can he contact to get that
I
information?
can give him, well, hold on, make sure there's no names.
This makes it a lot easier if I have it in print.
If there's no names, it should be,
Just clear it. I'm not gonna get into a PPI
No,
or
that's
PII issue or anything that puts us at risk.
I think we're okay without PI. I will double check.
Okay, just,
But in general, just for the record,
You did respond.
We
is
did
what
respond.
You were saying respond.
with
he's
4
not saying,
firefighters.
Jeff Co is saying that we did. Jefferson County is saying
Okay.
that we responded.
Do you coincide with what Jefferson County says?
Do I agree with what they said? Yes, so is the
So
report.
you say we respond, Golden
did.
Gate responded.
Golden Gate did respond to this
I don't
document.
think I think he agreed.
Okay, moving on to public comment. Are there any comments from the public? I'm gonna start with Ms. Neer.
With her phone. I tried to put the app on the Fire
Firewatch.
Watch. There's the Fire Watch 101. And when I tried to put it on earlier today, and I just tried it again, it's giving me a choice of 2 counties, neither one of which I recognize.
Interesting. I'll
Yeah,
have to look at that.
so I'll give you the phone at the end of
Okay.
the meeting. You can play with my phone. And see what what the issue is. And it will not allow me to be on without including one of those counties. I would love to have that access.
Ms. Bobbin.
Regarding the non-response or supposed non-response of a neighbor, if that neighbor is concerned with not having any response or thinking, that neighbor should be talking to fire department, not the neighbor's neighbor. Exactly.
How tall did he say that?
Point. There's no response from the board unless, are you asking a question that you'd like one of us to respond to? Okay, then there's no response from the board. Is there any additional public comment? Ms.
Also
Salvia?
part Val's comment as well. I think the chief should directly reach out to Mr. Schallenheimer and confirm all of this. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment?
Reach out to Mr. Shelley.
Is there any other public
Ms.
comment?
Donovan?
There's no comment from the board during public comment unless there's a direct question. You cannot ask a question.
Yes, I
If
can.
there's no other public comment, I'm gonna go ahead and close. Okay, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. Our next regular board meeting and pension board meeting will be 22 August at 6:30 PM for the pension board meeting here in the Grange, and immediately following that at 7 PM will be the regular board meeting. I will move to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor? Aye,
I
it's unanimous. Thank you all. We'll see you next month.
I would say, don't expect the minutes early because I'll be in Montana until August 6th. Leaving tomorrow.
Get involved, I'll tell them that.
you expect what?
You didn't say
I
it.
was thinking,
Excellent, that's what I'm
I
going to hear.
suggest the chief's